now. I always like to give the heads up so that if anyone doesn't want to be on camera, they can get off. So welcome everybody. One, I hope if you've had a concert so far this semester, that it went well and that you're happy. Your kids are really happy with it and you've gotten a whole lot done. If you're about to have your concert, I wish you good luck and write notes, I guess, for like a better way of saying it. Also, congratulations to everybody who finished their marching seasons recently. I know that's been a pretty rough run just because now we're all the way back as opposed to last year when we were all trying to figure out how to even do any of this. And so it kind of, at least for me, it felt like we went from the 35 miles an hour at the school zone straight onto the highway and said, all right, here you go, full kilt. So welcome to that. And I hope you had a great end of season. I know I enjoyed watching everybody's shows in Autzen that I was able to see up top. So excellent. We got just a few things today to keep you aware of. One is a question I have because with me trying to be a sounding board back to the OBDA board, I figured I would ask some questions that would hopefully inspire some growth in the board, and we can go in that direction as well. But first things first, I'm going to share my screen with you if I remember how to do this. There it is, big old green button. That's super easy and helpful. So for us, boom and boom, let's share that Google Chrome so everybody can see it. This is coming from over here. I'm looking in this direction now, so you should be able to see my screen. The first thing I want you to see is I've got up the BSD page for concert band. Specifically, I have it up and scrolled down to the high school concert band literature info. The reason I have that set to this is because this is kind of one of the things I want to make sure everybody saw today. There have been a few changes in the festival literature and the way it's done, and I wanted to make sure that everybody at the high school level sees it. And if you have any questions about it, you can express them to me. I'll try my best to answer it. And if I can't do it, I at least know these are the people that have questions, and I can get you in contact with the people that you might need to talk to in that regard. So the first thing I want to show everybody here is this. And this is, we have revised, everyone, the literature criterion for this year. As a reminder, this year, everybody is allowed to play one grade lower than their school's designation in OSAA for state festival consideration. So for example, Westview being a 6A school, I'm allowed to select from the 5A list as part of mine this year. Just a reminder that is happening. Also be aware that is a yearly thing. We set it to be just per year, and then the expectation for everybody is that we'll reevaluate at the end of this year if we as a body decide, hey, maybe we need to extend it one more year as we're trying to get out of where everybody is with COVID. But we intentionally set it to be yearly, so we had to go back and take a hard look at it. Speaking of, if you think that this might be something you want us to explore again, now is the time to start writing that proposal submission. So it can kind of be brought up in the winter meeting and then officially voted on at the spring meetings. Just be where we kind of need to be thinking all the way into 23, 24 now. So if we need to put any proposals like that on the board, we're already getting that taken care of, just as a heads up. Let's see, where did I put it? That's not the sheet I wanted. Where to put the sheet I wanted? There it is. So this kind of has been changed a little bit from what it has been in the past. So certain things are still the same. You can choose to play from a piece one level below for the 2022-23 school year. You guys can play from anything on higher than your school's designation. So if you're a 4A school, but your band is kicking at 5A music, go ahead and take it. You can go up, no questions asked. If you have a secondary band at your school that you're also thinking about taking to second band festivals and think of that, the expectation is you're just going to play one level lower. So if you're taking your top group at 5A, you would play 4A with your secondary bands. And then if you have a third band, 2 down. If you choose to go outside of your festival rating area, you will not be eligible for state, but you can still get comments back. So that's also a chance there for that. And then here's how everybody will be graded on the scale. These things are all pretty typical. These things are all standard. Let's scroll down real fast. We're just wanting everybody to notice the updated comments. So update number 1, we have an updated literature list. Very quickly, that is here. This new list can be found entirely right here on the concert band literature info on the OBDA concert band slot of the page. It is set up, if you'll take a look here at the bottom, everybody, it is set up to where here's the whole list, and then there are tabs at the bottom that take you through it. Please notice how it's set up, where it's like says 4A list with a caveat that is 5A for 2022, 2023, like that. So you can see what's going on and you can make your selections appropriately. Please remember that you really only have to do one piece from the lists on there for your festival set to be in the right place. That's just a reminder. I know most of you are aware of that, but unless you're like me, like I was 4 years ago, brand new, and I was still trying to wrap my head around that when other states, the entire set had to be from a list. But for us, you only have to do one selection from the list for it to count. We are in the process of updating this thing. The literature committee is actively working to update this list all the way through. We have added some things over the last couple of years, stuff that has shown up on ABA, MBA. We're trying to make it more inclusive to expand to include female composers, BIPOC composers, LGBTQ plus composers. So new things have been added. Also be aware that means some things have come off these lists. So if you have a standard warhorse that you're like, that's the one I do every 4 years, it's time again to do, I don't know, the light cavalry. Maybe you like that one a whole bunch. You probably want to go back and check just to see if it has come off. Because if it has come off, you'll have to actually file that substitution request for that piece. Just know that that is true. It's still bigger than it was before. They've added about 10 more pieces per set. So let's talk about the part that probably a lot of people are really curious about. This was how we have changed how substitutions are done this year. And this change came out entirely because of conversation. Actually, these meeting conversations, us talking like this last year. I believe Cameron was the one who put in, I'm pointing at this screen over here because that's where Cameron's face is. I think it was Cameron's proposal that we put in about changing how we did the literature substitution. If it was not Cameron's, take the credit and pretend like it was. But anyway, here's what's different. If you have something you want to be approved, it's not going to David anymore. It's going before the literature committee, and you don't email them. Here's what you do. Down here, where is it? Boom. OBDA pre-approval literature list submission form. This is the thing you're going to click from now on if you want to get a substitution put in. Click there. It'll bring you to this Google spreadsheet. I saw Connor was up, so I'll show it one more time just because I want Connor to catch it too, because he might have this question later on and I want to help him out. So it's the third button down. Boom. pre-approval literature list submission form. You click it, it'll take you to this Google form right here. So you'll scroll down, it just kind of reminds you of all the stuff that goes into play. It gives you kind of the criterion that you should be looking for as you request these substitutions. You'll come and then you'll hit next. And then you just fill in the stuff that you need to do in terms of your stuff. We'll pretend that so I'll put in mine just as an example, a name. Boom. Check it out. I'm not Westview. They tell me I'm a 6A. And then you just put in these particular things. What the piece is, who wrote it, if there's an arranger, who the rearranger is. And if you have a link to the piece, such as the JW Pepper website's link, or if it's a particular composers like Katash Copley or people like that who only have their stuff self-published, then they have recordings of the piece up as well as score examples up. You link that here and you hit submit. And then it goes into, and I'll show this part too, this fourth button, the OBDA pre-approval literature list status spreadsheet. And when you click that, you'll get taken to this page right here. And some people have been nice enough to already have examples in place for us. Thank you, Elizabeth Herring from McNary High School, for already having this in place so we can look at it. So this shows when it was submitted, so you can see what's going on with it. You can see who submits it, where they are, what their school classification is. We all get to see what the piece is, who wrote it, and then even if we want to, we can see what the link to the piece is there ourselves, like that. And then I don't need that, thank you. We also get to see if the status is approved or not. Right now, all three of the ones that are currently up are pending for review. But we all get to see it. That's a good point. No, I'll bring that to Evan and everybody so they can get that appropriately taken care of. So once we see if it's been approved or not, it becomes fair game for everybody, by the way. So if you see it's already been approved, you can pull up like, hey, this was approved, we can use it as a heads up. You're supposed to hear back within 2 weeks of submitting it about whether or not it has been approved as well, everybody. So these were all sent in over, from the looks of it, Thanksgiving break. So Elizabeth and Keith should both know before we go in for Christmas whether or not they should go ahead and order the extra scores for the parts. And at the bottom as well, we even have put in an idea, and I'll let you look over this at your leisure, for FlexBand. We're being a little bit more obvious and making sure everybody understands, because we do know that everybody is probably pulling a little bit more from FlexBand's arrangements than they have in the past, as well as composers are putting out FlexBand's arrangements of their own pieces now too. I know Tekeli is, I know Mackie is, I'm pretty sure a couple of the other people are as well. So this gives us a way that we can also say, well, here's the FlexBand version of it, and here's the grade level for it. So could you please take a look at it and see if we can get that approved as well? So we're being a little bit more proactive about FlexBand this year than we were last year. So that's kind of, that was one of the things that Evan wanted to make sure we covered today. Are there any questions about this as we're looking at it? It's all on the OBDA website, but I want to make sure that everybody saw it today so that they were ready to go after it. Hearing nothing, I'm going to assume that we're all good to go. And now it's not going in front of Dave only, it's going in front of the entire literature committee from here on out. And as a reminder, if you're curious who is the literature committee head is Louis Norfleet, and you can email them to find out more about the literature committee too. Okay. Clear as mud? Excellent. So the question I had for everybody today was, as Cameron and I were just on PD today, I was curious, and to open it up to general discussion from everybody, what are the kinds of PD or professional development that we're not currently doing through OBDA we've been here, OMEA as well, that maybe you're like, I would be interested if we kind of started hitting these kind of areas as professional development for the band community, because I know a lot of our school-based PD doesn't always address needs we might, as band directors, want/need to continue our growth. So I wanted to open the floor up to that kind of question today and see if anyone had any thoughts about the matter.
I actually have a couple ideas after talking to a first-year teacher who quit mid-year because they were so overwhelmed with how the job actually was. One is classroom management in the ensemble setting, because they're not getting that anywhere really. And the other would be just the logistics of running programs. You know, all the stuff that we probably learned about during band methods and band materials when we were in college, but they probably didn't pay much attention to because now they're living it. So maybe just more of the organizational piece for the younger teachers.
How to organize all this. I'm just writing all these down too, so that I can bring them forward to everybody and say, here's what your membership is saying that they would like to see happen. But those are great. I completely agree. Sometimes we forget to listen when we're undergrads or grad students sometimes. Anyone else thoughts that you would like to see us bring forward or into the mix? Pardon me 1 second. I'm just going to close the door because people are going to start showing up for a rehearsal this afternoon.
So maybe not like things I want to see, but I've seen a trend or in what I've been enjoying lately.
Yes.
So at WIBIC, my favorite 2 sessions was Peter Boonshaft and Dr. Tim. I didn't learn a single thing about technique, but I just learned about why I'm reminding myself why I want to be a band director, what it is to be a good person, like how to serve students, motivational type things. I loved those. And then this summer at the reading workshop, who gave it? Doug Durford did, he had a session and he had a title, but basically it just turned into circle group therapy. And it was the best hour just to sit around with band directors, be like, yeah, everything sucks. How's it suck for you? And like, just kind of commiserate. But like, I'm just seeing it, and I've seen this on some of the All Northwest stuff coming up. There's a lot of push towards, we don't need technique as much. We need to like support each other and just survive type mentality, feel good about the job. So I like those things.
Thank you. So I just to give you a heads up about what we're talking about at this moment. One of the things we're talking about is what kind of professional development would you like to see Oregon have, or where do you feel like you'd like to get more developed professionally in your career?
Another one, I was just recently at U of O talking to the music ed faculty about my kid who's thinking about going into this profession. And oh God, what was it? It was, shit, now I just lost my train of thought. I will be back with you. I'll figure it out.
If you're talking about maybe what we can do to make sure that our kids are prepared for like college entrances or something of like being a music major in college.
I mean, that's always good, but most of us kind of know how to guide our kids. I think more of my problem as a high school director is my kids don't tell me that they want to be music majors until it's almost too late to help them be music majors.
Yeah.
I'm seeing too many other heads nod. It's like, yeah, like we need to know that in fall of your senior year, not in February of your senior year.
Yeah. There is a book that I'm writing what we just said so I don't miss it. Wanting to music major. I'll bring it up and I'll share it. So you can see it. It is this book here. Amazon, you let me down. What else is new? Screen and share. It's this book here. It's called So You Want to Be a Music Major, as one that can be actually shared with, this was written, and there are sections in it for just students that might be curious about being a music major and kind of gives them a heads up ahead of time. Things you can show their parents, like, hey, parents, your child has expressed this interest. Here are the things that as a parent, you're going to want to be thinking about. They're guidance counselors, because our guidance counselors don't always know how to appropriately guide our students that are thinking about majoring in music in college. This kind of gives them a heads up. And then for us, for those who might not necessarily know how to talk about it yet, most of us have had experience, but newer to the profession teachers that are trying to figure out how best to guide their younger students, this has a section for you as well. And it's written by Robert Franz Blau out of Rhode Island. And it's published through Meredith Music, if I recall correctly. Just as a heads up that this book is out there if we want to have it brought into our schools as a way to help our students and other faculty members out that it exists.
I remember what it was, September experience. So colleges used to give you an opportunity to go before school started to watch someone's first few weeks of school.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like no longer doing that at U of O. And I can't imagine walking into like your first middle school band teaching job and not knowing how the first 3 weeks were set up, or 4 weeks. And I know Laura gave like a kick-ass thing for beginning band. Recently, like, you know, how she structures her beginning band, like what she teaches, like on a week by week by week, kind of in that first year.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that like music ed majors are not getting in the classroom on day 1 through 14, they're missing out on a lot of structure that they can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
U of O is not doing that anymore?
They're not doing it anymore.
That is a huge loss. Like, you can't read a book about how to start school.
Well, and part of their problem was they used to require marching band, and marching band directly conflicted with doing September experience. But now they don't require doing marching band anymore, but they still haven't brought back September experience. So maybe OBDA could step in and try to like work with these colleges and these music ed majors to partner up with teachers that want to have these kids in their classrooms for the first 2 to 3 weeks of the school year. They may not get college credit for it, but we've got to do something, because these first year teachers are dying right now.
Yeah. Josiah?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think.
Oh, Ben's put on his president hat. Run.
I think they've actually just restructured how the music ed major does their practicum, and as a result, their student teaching experience. My understanding is that all of the student teaching is now happening in their senior year, which we can talk about the benefits of that or not. But I believe they're doing a component of student teaching right away in the fall now, as well as I think it's like part-time for the fall and the winter terms, and then full-time spring term now.
Which is great, but because U of O starts so much later, they've literally missed the first 3 weeks of school.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think there's a gap there that needs to be filled for these young teachers.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling that. I understand.
Hey, man,
beginning band this year has been woo! It's been a blast.
Yeah, because this is your first year, and this is your first year non-weird, right, Josiah?
This is my second year, but this is my first year at a different school. I
Okay.
changed. I'm at Seaside now,
Okay.
and I'm at Seaside Middle and High. So I'm teaching 6 through 12, having a blast and learning on the fly middle school teaching. So yeah.
That makes complete sense. Out of curiosity, Josiah, are you linked up with anyone out there that maybe has had a little bit more like time experience that's out that way that could talk to?
I've been talking with Jamie Hall a bunch and with Andy Nelson a bunch. Those are the two main ones that I've been reaching out to. I'm actually playing under Terry Dahlgren, the previous longtime previous band director. He's the director now of the North Coast Symphonic Band, and so I'm playing under him and reaching out to him when so I'm also talking to him. And then apparently there's John. Well, I've been connecting a lot of people with that North Coast Symphonic Band. It's been a blast.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. We just want to make sure that you had someone to talk to out there that you could reach out to.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Noel. Those are beautiful things. Thank you. And obviously, as you think of others, please tell us. I'm just writing them all down as fast as I can to help out. Connor, is there anything that you are like, gosh, I wish I knew more about X, Y, or Z?
A whole bunch of them, but I think I'm just gonna. I think I'm feeling okay for the moment.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, if you get a couple in your head, feel free to email me and we'll pass it along to everyone. Yes, please. Thank you.
I think there's one, and I don't know if it's necessarily me, but I've been helping a lot of other friends of mine with logistics as it relates to inventory, music library management, maybe just straight up administration and how to navigate purchase orders. I know they're different across all schools and districts, and some people use triplicates still, and some people use Google Forms, but the process of like, I want to go to a festival. What are some of the things that I need to talk to? Who are some of the people that I might need to consider talking to? Who are some of the people that I might need to, things that I might need to think about considering? How do I make an itinerary for the beginning? I'm not sure that's always being given in the college setting. They're doing all the philosophy and stuff. And so some of us newer teachers, fortunately, I had that experience all through the graduate program, and I've always been kind of logistically minded, but that's not the case for everybody. And I know I'm helping one first-year teacher out, a choir teacher, and she's having to learn a ton of this stuff right on the fly, right away. And I think there might be an early fall kind of idea for band directors to, hey, these are how I run logistics for a festival or for a pep band playoff situation. That might be helpful.
Excellent. Yes, I've kind of been making notes about that right there. Good. We also have, I know Ken's out there. Ken, anything you're hoping to see us add in terms of professional development?
No, I'm old.
Ken's like, I'm good, man. Let it ride. Allison, anything on that you'd like to see us add in?
Sorry, I'm driving.
No worries.
I would just like to second all of the help for first-year teachers as a first-year teacher. I really like the idea of some kind of professional development for, the logistical side of things. That'd be really helpful.
Awesome. Allison, where are you now? What school are you at?
I'm at Banks Middle School and High School.
Excellent.
Allison, I'm here if you need me.
Good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously, send me an email. I'll share with you any of my logistical stuff, even if you just want like a sample itinerary. I've got a to-do list for my program that I came up with, because you're balancing a lot. You're like, did I put that field trip request in? Did I do the bus request for that? Have I paid my registration fee? So I created like a Google checklist that I follow every time that I do any logistics. I go in and I click that I've done these things so that I know where I am in the process of the 100,000 festivals that my bands are attending and stuff like that. So I'm more than happy to make copies of that stuff and share it.
That would be great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome. Thank you, Noel.
And Banks is in District 3. Woot, District 3.
Yeah, Josiah.
I think, I've been thinking about the logistics one. I think honestly, one of the more relatable thing for everybody, not just first year teachers, would be how to talk to admin. How to speak admin, how to navigate conversations with people that have no clue what they're talking about, some clue, and then obviously we've been communicating with people that do know what they're talking about. But as far as communicating with administration about our needs, both financially and rehearsal time, and if there's a marching band program, how do we advocate for ourselves needing field space, or needing that rehearsal time to not be at dark 30 all the time, maybe having a little conversation that way. How do we navigate those administration conversations? That might be helpful.
That's a excellent point, especially in the younger years where you're still figuring that part out. So that becomes the question of who do we know that does it really well? Because they would be the prime person to lead it. Well, these are some lovely ones that I would like to bring to the board, and Ben as well in his position might have heard some things like, we'll grab that for OMEA too, because I would bet that, especially with the idea of like, how do we talk to our building admin, that's more than just the band directors. I would bet that some younger choir and orchestra people probably have the same question out in the universe, that might be like an overarching OMEA thing to think about too. Just putting that out there. So because I don't want to keep everybody forever, if there is anything that you want me to bring to the board, I'd be curious to your thoughts at this time. Things you'd like me to bring forward. You're like, hey, can we examine this or talk about that? I would love to know those thoughts now as I'm making notes. Obviously, last year's stuff brought a change in the submission for literature, so we are being heard. So let's make sure we keep this forward momentum. Cameron, I saw your hand.
I just had a idea pop into my head about professional development. So sorry, I'm going back to.
Please backtrack if it came there. Let's get it.
So one of the things that I personally struggle with is making more work for myself than I have to. Mm-hmm. And just not being very efficient with things like lesson planning and score study and all sorts of things like that. So if there was a way that we could, I realize that efficiency also comes with time. So I'm not looking for a shortcut to get through anything. But if there was a way that I could, or if there was a way for someone to talk about how to make all of your planning more efficient so that you can have that elusive work-life balance, that would be wonderful. Especially coming from someone whose spouse is not a teacher or a band teacher.
That's a great point, and I think that's one of those things. I believe we do have one session. One of the things I'm going to soon does have that as one of their sessions about achieving balance. I'd be if I hear anything and you're not there, I'll make sure to share it with you. But I do agree, probably that could be spread to a lot more people on this call, and probably the others who aren't on this call that are working their tails off, which is the reason they're not on this call. So concerns, thoughts, questions that you'd like me to bring forth to the big board so I can get them brought back to you.
Bobby, I'd like to once again bring up trying to change the classification system from leaving the athletics department to entering the reality of the band department.
Really?
Yeah, I second that.
At classifications.
Because we have the, it's just in football that your football team, if they suck, can compete down a level.
Mhm.
And so that's not me saying if my band sucks, I want to compete down a level. But what I am saying is that I do the aspect of the way that we adjudicate and talk about marching band in the Northwest, where it's by size of ensemble and not by the size of your school.
Mhm.
There's merit to adding that into how we do the concert band side of things, just because, I might be a 6A high school, but I'm teetering on the 6A, 5A line. And, I don't have a 150 person band program, and I don't know when the next time I'm ever going, or when I'm going to be able to have a 150 person band program, just because of redistricting and all that jazz.
Yeah. So just looking more at what the band is capable of. No, I hear you guys on that, and I think that's one of those things where I obviously will bring this forward to the board still again, and be like, look, but I'm being more active about looking at how other states are doing it. So I can perhaps offer some ideas as well for people to look at and kind of chime in on with as well. And
A good example would be Southern California School Band and Orchestra Association. Their registration sheet for bands, which takes into consideration festival experience, feeder festival experience, instrumentation, etc., and that determines your classification.
Southern California Band Orchestra, you said?
Yeah, SCSBOA.
SCOA. I'll pull that one into and kind of go over it and see what's going on there, and think about it and try to bring that forward to them as well. Because I mean, you're not the only ones telling me this. So it is one of those things that with the number of people that are saying this, I have to make sure they're hearing it, and keep pushing on it. I know I'm going to get pushed back because I am, but I'll keep pushing on it for you. And that's probably a good one to look at. I'm probably going to check in and see like how Texas is doing it. Not because we have to do everything like Texas, but I'm sure there's got to be things in there that are similar where people are thinking in that way. I might also check in on New York. Other thoughts or concerns you'd like me to bring forward? Awesome. Well, as a final thing, if you do think of anything after we get off of the call and you just want to send it to me separately in an email, please do. I'll read through it and try to email back and come up, like have a conversation that way with you individually. And we'll try to keep moving forward on that. Also, I'm Josiah.
Sorry, I caught you right as you were starting. I was thinking, and it's not so much a question or a concern explicitly, but how are we? I don't always see the programs offered, or not programs. I don't always see the professional development or support as far as attention is concerned to the small schools. Just not necessarily something to bring to them other than, hey, let's make sure we constantly think about Valley 6A high schools. And I'm not saying that I'm in a small school compared to some of my colleagues, where you're dealing with all sorts of different situations, all sorts of different experiences that I imagine most don't even know exist. And so just making sure we're constantly reaching out and supporting those schools, not just the ones that show up at the OSA events every year.
Yes, and I want to say, don't hold me to this, it won't stand up in court. I want to say that we do have a small school initiative, but if there is not, it is a wonderful point that we need to explore it as a thing. I know there are a lot of other schools or a lot of other states where there is a specific small school initiative. I know that Midwest has a whole set of, our Midwest Clinic has a whole set of workshops specifically that are set as the small school initiative, talking to it about that nature. So that is not the worst thing for us to also be thinking about, though, is do we have something similar for our smaller schools out there that might need it?
So OMEA has a small schools chair. The current one, his name is Melissa Jumea. She's at Sutherland. She gave an excellent report at the fall meeting. She is on top of it. She has a huge plan and she understands and has lived all the concerns. So she's gonna be a great advocate. If you know people that are looking for help, I would have them contact her. She's the best at, I think.
Is
the
the
conversation started.
And you said Sutherland, and what was her
Sutherland,
name?
Melissa Jumea, Jmaeff.
Okay, thank you.
Is that contact information also on the OMEA website, Ben?
Yeah, if you can find it, top left. I'm very well at these. Yeah, there's a contact thing. You can actually, it's also would be in the first page of the journal. I think it's the whole roster. There's another easy way to find it. But yeah, it's there somewhere.
I'm gonna look right now and see if I can see it up here in the corner that you're talking about here. So you're saying go up here to the board members and district chair things?
It's there somewhere. We'll find it someday.
Okay, so I don't see it right off the top of the bat, or I'd pull it by and let you and look with me, but we'll let's make sure we're checking out the OMEA page as well so that we can find that one and maybe reach out and see what we can do about getting a little bit more flow into the band director side as well for us. But that's it. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Just as a reminder, if there's any kind of proposal you're thinking about, such as what we talked about earlier with creating a different way that substitutions are being done, now's the time to be writing and submitting those proposals to Evan so that they can be reviewed at the next meeting. And then I think it's just because of the way Robert's rules work, we review at the next meeting and then vote at the spring meeting. So if you're doing it, don't wait, act now. Evan's standing by, and he'll gladly put that before the board. Might even, if it doesn't come across clearly, talk to you about ways to tighten it up and clear it up for you as well. This gives time for appropriate review. So that's all I've got, friends. If there's anything that you want to bring up that maybe I didn't open the gate for, now's a fantastic time to do it. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, Josiah.
I know I came in late, so I'm just asking a clarification. You were talking about the initiatives and or not the initiative. You were talking about the new submission process and going through that. I was wanting to know if anybody mentioned the fact that they are not anonymous submissions or proposals right now on the Google form. I know it's linked to the Google form that you submit your proposal, and then the spreadsheet is directly linked to it. But is there a way that we can get, and I know there is, in that it's possible on spreadsheets, but I don't know if you're wanting it to be publicly known who's approving or who's submitting requests for ensemble repertoire or substitutions. I'm worried about words and I can't figure them
No,
out.
that's all right.
But you do understand what I'm.
Oh yeah, no, what you're saying is about the fact, we looked at this earlier
Okay.
before you got here,
Yeah.
that yes, we can all see who is putting in requests for substitutions and what that request is. If not to speak for those who are not here, but I think part of the reason why we're doing it the way we're doing it is because this is actually making the whole process much, much more transparent, to where we know exactly what's been submitted, exactly where it's kind of where the requests are coming from and exactly what is getting approved. But also partly, I think having everybody out there kind of says, like, you know, it's just more of the transparency. So no one's so we can actually see, like, oh, okay, these are being submitted. And to be frank, that's a bad choice of words, sorry. To be honest, sometimes it's just nice to see, like, oh, if some of the older people are also putting in these submissions, it's fine for me to put in submissions too. It's kind of one of those lead by example things. I don't think it's being done in a way to call anyone out per se.
Yeah.
Just like, no, it's cool, man. Feel free to submit.
Okay. I noticed it and I noticed the names and I questioned if that was necessary to have the names and schools or whatever. But if nobody has a problem with it, I guess it's fine. It just seems like a little bit more room for anonymity is not. I just don't see it being needed, but I see what you mean by if the other people are doing it, then it's okay. That kind of lead by example. That makes sense.
Yeah,
So I kind of feel what you're saying on that. I feel like there could be anonymity in the process, but like the tune could get added to like a separate database later. Like this tune was approved. It didn't necessarily has to be linked to like a school.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I was implying on the, like, I know it's possible. All you have to do is hide that name one. And that's like, I love that it's like, this is what's being in process. I love the transparency of like, this one's being approved. This one's not been approved. This one is currently being suggested. I love all that. I just don't know if I see the need for the name column necessarily. So
I agree. You could easily black that out.
Yeah, I can bring that forward and ask.
And again, it's not a huge deal, but it seemed like just, I don't know.
I also think that there are directors out there, and I'm included in this. I kind of like to keep what I'm playing under wraps a little bit. I don't necessarily want the whole world to know that I'm looking to approve this tune. You know, I like to hit them with a surprise at the first festival, you know? So I kind of appreciate that too.
Yeah, no, I can bring that forward for everybody and see what comes back. Well, okay, everybody, if we are in a good place for the day, I want to say welcome back from Thanksgiving. I hope you have a good sprint to the December holiday, and that those of you who have concerts this month, that they are fantastic and your children play absolutely perfectly in tune.
Thank you, Bobby.
Y'all have a good day now.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.